Wu Bing is actually one of the student at PhD student at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. So she's presenting on basically on its topic on what's it called, personal curation on social media. So and then maybe we can also we can start first with the second speaker if you don't mind. Meng Jin, do you want to start? Let's introduce Meng Jin, and she is presenting on behalf of Wang Haiyan because she's called at the airport. You're from Beidai, right? You're from Beijing University.
Tomorrow, but then now just
okay. Maybe we can start now.
Yes. So I'm presenting on behalf of Professor Wang because I may make some mistakes because I'm not doing this research, but I'm just presenting. So if you have any questions, I think I'm happy to discuss with you together about this research. So this research is about uninstalling Xiaohongshu, social media avoidance and consumer resistance in China. The key concern of this study is connectivity and disconnectivity. So they have people will have this kind of experience that the development of digital media, especially social media and the messaging services, have kept us permanently online, and this may bring some kind of like fatigue, addiction, anxiety, and isolation. So because of this kind of phenomena, then this study started to think about, especially this kind of thing is observed in Chinese online media. For instance, on Douban, there is a call called "Staying Away from Screen" or "Controlling the Internet Use." And on Zhou, there are also these kind of forums where people think why we must delete Douyin or Xiaohongshu. And so based on these observations that I think we are going to study the disconnecting practices of Xiaohongshu's users. And also Xiaohongshu, I think maybe most of us are familiar with this platform. So it's kind of very popular lifestyle social media platform in China. And it is characterized by its young user base, especially young female users. It is known for using customized algorithms for content recommendation, and the censorship by the platform is not a secret. So existing studies have discussed both the positive and the negative outcomes of Xiaohongshu's usage, but few studies have actually studied how this kind of consumption enhances, also about how their marketing strategies, but few studies have pointed to the negative effects, especially about how they are causing stress and anxieties among its users. So this study is going to study this kind of digital disconnection in this kind of Xiaohongshu platform, and to study how they describing this kind of disconnecting practices, including digital detox, social media disconnection, social media disengagement, and social media avoidance. So I think there are various reasons for disconnecting from social media, and now this study actually is trying to build on current literatures to see, apart from those psychological factors, what else are actually leading to this kind of disconnection. So here I think the strategy of disconnection includes selective avoidance, unfollowing, unfriending, blocking, switching off notifications, deleting an app, etc. And these are all some kind of practices people are using to disconnect from the social media. And the research question, I think previous research have examined why users disconnect from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and few studies have actually focused on social media platforms. So this one is going to study Xiaohongshu in the Chinese context, and also the cultural practices of these users. And these research questions is, there are two research questions. One is how and why do users practice disconnection from Xiaohongshu? And the second question is what kind of resistance does they practice and their practice represent? So to study these research questions, they have adopted digital ethnography. especially on the platform of Xiaohongshu and Zhihu. So for the Zhihu, they have a kind of forum. It's about why did you uninstall Xiaohongshu? And so basically they're observing all the comments and the discussions in this forum and trying to find the Xiaohongshu creators on Xiaohongshu and then to follow their contents to do the content analysis of the Xiaohongshu creators. And also based on these Xiaohongshu creators, they have conducted semi-structured interviews to see how they are going to disconnect from this platform. So basically it's trying to observe both the forum as well as the semi-structured interviews. So here are some of the users they think why they disconnect from Xiaohongshu. The first one is because Xiaohongshu is a text and picture-oriented social media. Many people have said that actually they have been experienced of deceived by the carefully crafted images posted on Xiaohongshu. For instance, we can see they have very different kind of the discrepancy between what is portrayed and what is the actually experience. So they think like Xiaohongshu is always at the actual site of this scenery. So they are actually trying to portray over kind of beautified images of places, which causes people a kind of disillusion. So I think one of the things that they're trying to argue is because of the illusion of these kind of fictionalized portrayals. For instance, this is what you will see on Xiaohongshu, and this is what you actually see in real life. So they are trying to say this is something causing people a kind of disillusioned beliefs of reality. And then the second thing is because they found that on Xiaohongshu, most people are actually portraying the luxury lifestyles, attractive appearances, outstanding achievements, a perfect romance, and envious relationships. This is something that is too perfect to be real or too perfect to be disgusting. So this is something that actually they feel that this is something not real. That's why they don't want to read too much from the Xiaohongshu. And the third reason, I think the second factor is actually the consumerism in Xiaohongshu. So Xiaohongshu is famous for its desire-growing software, where the design of the apps is geared towards product endorsement and marketing. So we can see that there are a lot of people on the platform. Actually, they are like marketers or bloggers. They are trying to sell things. So the marketers are invisible, and the bloggers actually they are trying to disguise. Actually, that's trying to sell something. So this kind of consumerism on the platform make those users feel as if they are kind of 韭菜. So they feel that this is something they want to disconnect from the platform. And then another thing that so this is also an example to say how the interviewers say that they are sold products because they think what to eat, to drink, and pay for. Actually, they are kind of being persuaded by those celebrities to buy, to consume things. And another thing, and this is also some interviewees have said that they feel that they are part of the being sold ideas of consumerism. And the third factor, I think, is because they feel that the platform actually dominates the way they communicate and how they are visible online. So, for instance, some people will mention there is traffic restrictions online. So they actually, I think this is mostly, to my understanding, I think it's something like we all know, we don't know how the algorithm actually works. Sometimes you will receive millions of viewers, but sometimes you don't. So it's like the black box, which make people think that actually the platform have dominated the way people can communicate and can be seen, and that is why people feel that they have no negotiation power with the platform. So this is also something that some interviewees says that their accounts may be blocked in 2 days, and sometimes they don't know why. So I think this another see apart from the platform dominance, I think this is very interesting when I was reading these PowerPoints. So the final thing they are trying to argue is that they think there is kind of gender discrimination on Xiaohongshu, but this discrimination actually tends to be male feelings being discriminated by females rather than the other way around. For instance, Xiaohongshu is known for as like a more pro-female community. So on this way, they feel some male kind of users, they feel kind of discriminated by this kind of female like dominated community. So these are some of the ideas they are trying to give. That is like trying to say, well, discrimination against male. So to summarize, to wrap up a little bit, so here what they are trying to argue, there are 3 triple resistance regarding the disconnecting Xiaohongshu, these practices. So they have concluded 3 resistance. One is like commercial resistance, the second is political resistance, and the third one is ideological resistance. So the commercial resistance, I think, is quite clear. It's refused to be commodified. And the political one is refused to be dominated by the platform power as well as the gender power. So they are trying to say we want to resist the algorithms and the platform mechanisms. And also, to be honest, I'm still thinking why gender power is kind of political resistant. Yeah, but maybe, yeah, but I'm not discussing, I'm just presenting. Okay, ideological resistance. So they are trying to say that they refuse to be fooled and manipulated. So this is, but they also argue that this is not a digital resistance. So my understanding is that they think what they're actually trying to resist is the ideological power relations rather than resistance to the digital technology. So actually they are trying, they're not resisting something that is the technology, digital kind of reliance on things, but they are trying to resist this kind of power relations, which is, I think they are trying to say something unequal or kind of power relations. So there are some of limitations, for instance, like small scale resistance and weak resistance, of course, is within kind of limitations. And that's all for the presentation.
Thank
I
you.
hope you can.
Yeah. Well, in fact, you presented really clear. Although you are not the authors. Let's give her a big hand. Thank you. Let's take a presentation. Maybe B. So.
Great, thank you so much. Hello everyone, my name is Wu Yang from the Chinese University of Hong Kong. I'm currently the PhD candidate. So previously in the talk, the professor was sharing about why people disconnected from the social media. So I would like to talk about why people are connected to the social media. So what is this kind of the social media behaviors? So this is actually my 3rd time attending the CRC, and I always receive lots of useful suggestions and feedbacks. So this time I'm bringing my dissertation topic on the personal curation. So this talk, I will briefly talk about, So what is personal curation? This very important concept, not only for me, but also I think for the field of the digital journalism and social media. Secondly, it's about how to measure it, how to empirically validate this concept. And finally, it's why this is very important. As we must be very familiar with the very classic 5W model, who says what in which channel, to whom, with what effect. And I remember that Jonathan Zhou once mentioned that this is the only theory in communication field, because some professors also, like Craig mentioned that in the communication field, there are lots of interdisciplinary theories from different fields, making the communication field lack of lots of strong theories. So Jonathan mentioned this is the only theory in the field, though some people also argue this is a little bit simple and naive, because this is a very simple strategy on mentioning the communicator, message, and medium. However, in empirical studies, it has been very difficult to actually mapping how the information flows in different kind of channels, where the message, medium, audio studies. So we have different kind of studies to mapping that. So one of the reasons, as I mentioned, is that it is not easy to map how information spread among a large group of people. And in the current scenario, we have not only the interpersonal communication, but also the mass-mediated communication. So the social media seems like give us a very affordable avenue to combine its private and public information altogether. So we have the mass-mediated communication. So from the source studies, Torsten and Wells give a very good examples on what is kind of the curators in the social media. So they mentioned the first one is journalistic curator. So those are the media agencies where the independent journalistic. Oh, wow, it's automatically. So the second one is automatic curator. So those are the platforms where the AIs. Third one is social curator. No matter your weak ties or your strong ties. Fourth one is strategic curator, like the advertisers were the government actors. Finally, is personal curator, so it is individual users. Oh, sorry, it's so automatic. So these different curators, they jointly shape what will automatically showing up in your social media feed. So the simple abstract figure here is that different curators, they jointly shape what content will showing up in your social media feed. And what I want to argue a little more based on the curated flows framework is that each curator is not independent with each other, but they kind of jointly influence each other, have some interactions with each other, and then this kind of interplayed dynamics, complex interactions will give the final determined word influence to the social media feed. So this is kind of the perspective from the curated flows. So think from this perspective, we can better understand this 5W model. So we can think from that the communicator is a 5 curators as I showed. The message is social media feed. The medium is social media. A receiver is personal curator. Well, the effects is what I will illustrate more in my future studies. So you can also show that the personal curations actually take dual roles because it not only showing the communicator within these 5 curators, but it is also the receiver. So this highlights important roles of studying the personal curator. And also the empirical studies also showing that individual choices as compared with the algorithm actors play a more important role in shaping the cross-cutting exposure leading to the polarization. So these are the last year's empirical studies from the Nature and Science. They find that actually the algorithm does not play a very important role in shaping the polarization, although some scholars argue the credibility of the data source because some of the data is credited to MyTab, the big giant. So it's still showing some the important roles of the individual choices as compared with all the actors. However, there's a notable absence of the well-defined conceptualization about personal curation, though some similar concept is floating in our area, like the social filtering, newsfeed curation, news tailoring, customization. So I want to make kind of the theoretical argument here. So as I mentioned, based on these curated flows, my position is that personal curation is a behavior in which individuals interactively organize the contents based on the different curated flows to inform other content preference to the various curators. So simply speaking, we as an individual user, when we click on the dislike or like to the content, it will convey the information to all the other curators to kind of change their recommendation system or change their content writing post scenario. For example, if you press dislike to baby care related content, so those kind of advertisers, they will understand, oh, this type of the content is disliked by a group of people, so they may kind of change their recommendation strategy. And this also have the similar scenario in the algorithm when they are understood, when they are aware of those kind of the advertisement or content is disliked by a group of people, then we kind of jointly shape their new strategies on the curatorial thing. Another classification I want to make is about the differences between the customization and also the personalization. As we know, the customization is more like the active user tailored. It highlights the role of the user, while the personalization is more like highlighting on the role of the algorithm. Well, I want to position the personal curation is kind of in the middle because it not only involves the active user agency, but also the active algorithm agency and also all of the other factors from the advertisers, government actors, and social curators. Using a more concrete figure, you can see the customization is at the high end of the high user agency, while the personalization is at the high end of the algorithmic agency. Well, I want to position the personal curation in the kind of middle range level of the user agency and also the algorithmic agency. Okay, so after giving the conceptualization, it is also very meaningful to give the typology because it's very important to help us understand more about what is the specific meaning of the personal curation. So I kind of want to propose the 5 different dimensions of the personal curation and comprise expansiveness, heterogeneity, news attentiveness, collectivism, and multi-platform connectedness. Although I think this word is a little bit difficult to explain, but I will unpack them one by one in the following. So the expansiveness simply means like the boosting features, whether the individuals want to welcome, add, follow more information to one social media feed. A related study that previously I've done is about effective mechanism of the personal curation. So apparently I classify it into the news boosting curation like news limiting curation. So you can simply operationalize the news boosting curation like add, like, following more like count, while the news limiting curation is more like dislike, block, unfriending those kind of accounts where the post. So the research shows that when people with higher level of the FOMO, they may have more like fatigue about this kind of scenario like the avoidance behavior. And then they may engage in more news limiting curation instead of the news boosting curation. So this is very clear that when people are overloaded about the information, they will engage in more news limiting curation instead of the news boosting. And I'm going to share more about that if you're interested. So this is more like a specific concrete versionization about the expansive features of that. As for the heterogeneity personal curation, so this is based on the selective exposure literature that people is going to like or to select the content that is consistent with their existing ideas and political ideologies. So here I want to highlight the heterogeneity curation, which is a behavior that people want to be exposed to more cross-cutting information, because the literature suggests that when people are exposed to lots of cross-cutting information, it may be kind of better for their democratic outcomes. So I want to measure this as important features or the dimensions of the personal curation. The third one is collectivism personal curation. So this is again based on the social identity theory that as compared with the individual users, some people would like to follow more group that is aligned with their existing like political ideologies instead of the single users that they do not have the social identity on that single person. So fourth is more about the news attentiveness. It's based on the assumption that social media, we have news and also the entertainment. So those content is trivial with each other. So sometimes when we have more attention on the news, we will have less attention on the entertainment and the vice versa. So the news attentiveness is more like the behavior when individuals prioritize the news content over the entertainment. So finally, it's about multi-platform connectedness. So it is a behavior that people regard the social media as a repertoire and want to rearrange their social media behaviors based on different motivations in different social media platforms. Okay, so in order to empirically do the analysis, I conduct several studies. So the first step is to go back to the literature. So I conduct the in-depth literature review and also compare some different measures here. So after this step one, I have the initial outcome of the 72 question items to generate from this 5 dimensions of the personal curation. And then I follow in by 3 empirical studies to validate and explore this concept. So due to the time limit, I will only focus on the final study 3 to show the results. So the result was conducted in May this year in US, and the final sample size goes to like 1,270. And here's the result. You can see, luckily, those kind of results converge into a single features of the personal curation. And the 1-factor analysis shows a poor result as compared with the 5-factor analysis, showing that the personal curation is better to be classified into 5 different dimensions. I also show the correlation result of the 5 different dimensions. You can see the correlations are very high, but it's not that high enough to consider that these dimensions are the same. The divergent validity test showing that the correlation result with the existing dimensions and also some pre-established result like the political unfriendly, news me perception, multi-platform use, news avoidance, selective exposure. So some shows a very good correlation, but again, it's not that high enough to show that these are completely opposite for the same concept. So the study, just a brief recap, is that I kind of want to reframe the information flows in the social media and want to firstly conceptualize and then empirically validate this concept. So if we kind of conceptualize this concept, when we go back to the original question that they published in Nature and Science, they're showing that individual choices should be blamed for the cross-cutting exposure or the polarization. So when we, again, to think about this question, so are they really measuring the individual choices, or they're actually measuring the personal curation? Because this personal curation is based on the very complex interactions between different curators. So it is not solely the customization that highlights the higher user agency, but it involves a very complex, joint, dynamic interactions between different curators. So here I want to kind of make my own modest claim on that situation, but I'm willing to have more classic discussions with you. So finally, it's about my future direction. I will explore more about the effects of the personal curation by proposing this politics of the personal curation model. So in some of my initial results, I find using different curatorial strategies will be beneficial for cultivation of an informed citizen, but for using other kind of the curatorial strategies, it will lead to more polarization and decrease your political engagement. So that will be my future directions. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen.
Do you have a PowerPoint to share? Or Danmu, and which is one of the really important topics nowadays.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Haoming Zhou, and I'm from the Department of Communication and Media at University of Michigan. I'm currently at Chongqing, enjoying home and Harvard. I'm sorry I cannot join you in person today, but I guess I will have more future opportunities. So today, my presentation is titled "Humor is a New Core Socialist Value: Danmu as an unlikely vehicle of political expression." So for those of you who are not familiar with the Danmu system, here is a very brief introduction to it. So fundamentally, Danmu is a stream of plain texts which going through the screen and overlaid on the video content. They are basically unstructured comments, except that they are fixed at the time of the video when the users inserted those Danmu. So some scholars argue that for the platform, Danmu as a commercial technologies primarily serving in cultivating a co-viewing experience instead of constructing meaningful conversations. But other scholars still argue that Danmu can facilitate meaningful conversation and communication through users' creative strategies. There are two main features of it. The first is that most of the meaningful Danmu conversations are event-based, which means that at a specific point, most of the Danmu comments focus on the specific content at the moment. So it makes the conversation less chaotic. And the second is that the Danmu users prefer to use culturally and socially shared languages to express their ideas. So which makes the conversation less sensible. So in sum, to make sense of Danmu comments, it is critical to contextualize Danmu texts with respect to the specific content on the screen and the broader social and cultural backdrops. So in order to understand Danmu afforded political expression, I also draw from cultural studies mediated political expression in past 2 decades. As Guo Bingyang famously stated, online activism is par excellence activism by cultural means. To focus on the cultural perspectives of online political expression, it is to go beyond the paradigm of political resistance versus authoritarian state. It is to focus more on the more visible, creative, subtle, and less confrontational expression because they are more tolerated by the regimes of censorship. It is also means to not only focus on the discursive political critiques of the power, but as well consider them as cultural practice, which is oftentimes ritualized and deeply intertwined with entertainment culture. And a cultural approach also understands the relationship between tech and media practice as mutually constitutive and contingent. As I will later argue in my presentation, the Danmu system both enables and contains political expression by its technological design. So here are my research questions. I ask, what kind of video triggers political expression via Danmu? How Danmu users express their political opinions, sentiments, and attitudes through Danmu? And second, in what ways are Danmu afforded political expressions different from other forms of expressions? So here I offer several empirical cases. In terms of the triggering content, I listed several more salient types of triggering content here. Of course, the list does not include all types of triggering content, because as my project goes, I came to realize that the triggering content as open canvas is not necessarily related with politics, but in fact, the videos that has nothing to do with politics can still trigger political discussion and political expression in Danmu. So it is somewhat unpredictable. And part of the reason is that they can be momentary, because like in a video game streaming, somebody suddenly talks about something, and the Danmu was started to talk about it like it is political related, but after several seconds, the audience attentions are directed to still to the video games. So it disappears. So it can be momentary. So it is really contingent on the ability of audience to collectively go astray, to collectively offer their interpretations. So here, the largest screenshot I put here is an example I kind of called loose 恶搞 videos. So if you are familiar with 恶搞 videos, you will know that that kind of videos, it edit the existing audio and visual resources and play with the official social and political discourses. But this video, the uploader just uploaded a clip of a TV shows 20 years ago, in which the characters were talking about how the local officials can make profits from an outbreak of a contagious disease. It is posted during the COVID period in China, and immediately Danmu comments started to relate these clips with zero COVID policy. But different from the traditional 恶搞 videos, the author does not offer any changes in these clips and does not offer any intended interpretations of this video. But Danmu makes up the space and shift these clips into political satire. So without Danmu, it cannot be a political satire or a channel for political expression. And in terms of the language, I found that most of the languages utilized by Danmu for political expression are playful, subtle, and mimetic. And in order to consider them as collective political expression, they are oftentimes repeated. And those languages are shared by the community and can be reappropriated onto different triggering content to trigger similar reactions, sentiments, and affects. The use of the shared languages and interpretations, the practice itself, will serve in constructing loose community and emotional bonds. So here is an example. This screenshot is taken from a documentary about the overthrow of Ceausescu. So if you are familiar with this Romanian dictator, you will know that he is a long-time cultural signifier in China's cyberspace, because people found similarities between Ceausescu's Romanian and Xi's China. So immediately, this kind of documentary will trigger people's reactions if they are familiar with these cultural signifiers. So at this specific moment, an interviewees in the documentary were talking about that Mrs. Ceausescu said that the Romanian people betrayed us for $1. So immediately the Danmu comments starting to referring to the cultural signifiers, the $500,000, which is a long-time rumor in China's cyberspace that the protesters and anti-region people were paid $500,000 by the CIA. So people also use the word "DM," which means typical or classic in China, to reference that this is a very familiar rhetoric in China as well. And the DAM system is not just used by the people who disagree with certain policies or even disagree with the region. It is also used by pro-region or the people groups or state-owned media outlets. So in this example, it is a user-generated video which is titled "There is none of the countries in the world handles COVID better than China did." So at this moment, you immediately notice that many of the Danmu comments were purposely used the red color to represent their favorable attitudes towards how China handles COVID and their favorable attitudes towards the Chinese party state. So in this case, particularly, you don't even need to understand each individual comments. What does it mean? You just see this as a spectacle. You will get the affect and emotions. So it can be quite efficient for the pro-region groups as well. So here are some key takeaways from my presentation. First is that the Danmu afforded political expression as meta text is a co-production between content and Danmu comments, between uploader and users, sometimes even unintended, which means that even for content that has nothing to do with politics, the users can still use Danmu comments to shift the interpretations and shift the video content into a channel for political expression. And second, there is a specific repertoire of language can be utilized and applied while loosely contributing to identity or community building and emotional bonds. Danmu system is also used by pro-region groups and state-owned media outlets. And Danmu afforded political expression can be considered as network social practice, which means that the satirical form is more important than discursive content. The satirical and playful atmosphere the language has created within the video is more important than what does them really mean. Why does they refer this triggering content with China's political realities? And last, Danmu system both enables and contains political expression. I think most importantly, Danmu afforded political expression challenges conventional censoring techniques, such as the keyword filtering system. Keyword like $500,000 doesn't trigger any warnings in this censoring techniques because it doesn't make sense without contextual them with respect to the videos and cultural backdrops. And last, serious conversation are largely absent, and they are primarily serving for entertaining purpose. And this is all. Thank you.
But not the least, Jiajie, and he's talking about WeChat as a kind of like infrastructure for youth, right?
I'm very happy to be able to visit QUT again, and today I'm going to share some very preliminary findings of a side project. My colleague from Shenzhen University, Zhang, and I'm Jiajie from Danmu University, a side project we are working on. It is about it's nothing to do has nothing to do about automated but autonomous. That may sound a bit off the theme of this conference, but I think it's interesting enough to catch up attention because it is about cat. How do I? This mallet. Okay, that will. Okay. The background. We all know that the sudden outbreak of COVID in the early 2020 had significantly interrupted teaching activities worldwide. And the university which I worked for at that time suspended the spring semester in 2020, and without the interference of the faculty members and the students, because they were all evacuated from the campus. So the number of the stray cats on campus has seen a very, very steady growth at that time. And all the photos I use in this slide are quoted from the public WeChat account of the cat rescue group. So they're the real things in the campus. So there are cats everywhere. So this situation has soon raised the concern of the university. What's that? Because the university thinks that the ill cat or even the dead cat can spread disease in the campus, which is a kind of a hygiene threat to the students. And if the student pet the stray cats in the campus, they could get scratches or even bitten. So the university really do not want there too many cats in the campus. So they want to catch it and excite the cats from the campus. But the student, they think a different way. So they spontaneously get organized and rescue the cats. So here we can see a screenshot on the right-hand side here. This is a 微信公众号 WeChat official account, which is organized by and operated by the cat rescue team. So we can see this is the information they just released recently. And what does WeChat do in this process? First, WeChat can function as an identity verifier, because we know that WeChat has become an inevitable gateway to the China's future digital society, which means that if a person doesn't have a WeChat account, that means that he or she does not digitally exist in the society. We need a WeChat account to access a various kind of public services. So in the case of this cat rescue group in my university, even every faculty members, every staff, and every student, they have to link their WeChat account to their ID, student ID or staff ID, so they can pay the tuition, they can eat at canteen. So this kind of WeChat functions as a gateway to any services provided by the university. So in this WeChat group, if you are using your real name registered WeChat account to log in or to communicate with other members in this group, means that you are the real person and you are the real person of the university. So that's WeChat here functions as an identity verifier here. And the second function of WeChat group here is that we all know that WeChat is a very integrated platforms of various services that enable legislative practices. Just like if the group they need money, so they can do the fundraising and publicizing, and even making the connections with outside or inside the university, all kinds of stakeholders here. So this is the role or the functions of WeChat group of WeChat platform in this group. And I'm going to skip some slides here because I don't have enough time, I think. So actually this autonomous group is very well organized. We can see that there are 4 departments with 1 chip here, so they are very clearly divided or assigned responsibilities to every part of their organization here. And about the group, according to my interview with some key members at the very beginning, it was just a very small scale and interest-based WeChat group, chatting group among a few students. But one day, a student, a girl, attached a QR code to a popular cat snack ring in the campus. So there are so many students joined this WeChat group by scanning QR code on the cat snack ring. So this group soon has become a very big and popular one now. So we can see there are more than 1,500 followers on WeChat and other social media platforms, just like Douyin and Xiaohongshu. They have all kinds of social media accounts everywhere. And now their management team has more than 30 key members who are coordinated and organized by WeChat chatting group for their daily operation. Yeah, it becomes a very big group now. So what does the group do? They have a very strong principle and belief, which I described here, principle of TNR, trap, neuter, and release. This is basically what the group does. And to achieve this goal, the group also need to identify and name and count the number of stray cats on the campus and offer some necessary food and shelter and medical treatment to the stray cats in the campus, on the campus. And there are some characteristics making this group autonomous. I use autonomous here because firstly, as I observe and summary, there are 4 characteristics here. And the first one is it is spontaneously organized and out of the official administration system, which means that this group is not officially registered to the Youth League Committee of the university. According to my interview, I found that why the university does not recognize or encourage this group, because there are potential safety risks when students feed, pet, and catch cats on campus. So that's what I mentioned before, why the university does not really encourage this kind of activities on campus. But this is not what the group expect to be, because another key member says they do not deliberately keep a low profile. They really want to be an official student association if there is a chance. The type will not change, a chance. Because if they become the official student association, they can receive funding from the university. So that's really important for the sustainability of this group. And second, this group is a loose but highly sticky and autonomous community. People join in this group not for some utilitarian reasons, just like getting the credit points for their study. No, they don't join this group for that. They just join this group because they love cats. So this the common trend, the common interest. People also share their everyday life, like the snapshot demonstrates here on the right hand side. It's nothing to do about cats, but some barbecue, and even asking other people to give these people give the person a support for the bargaining for the car fee, for the transportation fee back home during some holiday. So it's nothing to do about cats, but it is the everyday sharing their everyday life. So this group has become a domain of everyday media practice for the members, even after their graduation from the university. So that's the second reason. And the third characteristic is that it is financially independent. As an unregistered student association, this group cannot receive funding from the university. Its financial sustainability is primarily supported by fundraising, donation from the members and some stakeholders, and even commercial sponsorship. One of the chief's main responsibilities is to make business connection, or to get sponsorship from the cat food manufacturers, something like that. So that's really interesting. And they also selling the merchandise, the postcards on some sponsored goods, the cat food they get from the sponsors, so they can make money to sustain this group. So on the right hand side, we can see they have a very clear bookkeeping record, which is also released by their WeChat public account. So we can see on the right hand side here. And this is some promotion of their marketing to sell the merchandise in the campus and off campus. And finally, their transition of the management team is really autonomous because the university does not recognize them. So which means that the university does not involve in their transition. So no need to be approved by the Youth Legal Committee office or committee of the university. The new chief, usually a third-year student, is appointed by the former chief. And new heads of the 4 departments are promoted from among the current members. They recruit new members among the fresh members with kind of secret places, because they are not allowed to have a stand publicly in the on the campus, because they are not official student association. So that's why making autonomous and some kind of half underground. Yeah, this is the recruitment, the poster for that. And thank you for your patience for the last presentation session.